talk about tonight. The prayers have been answered with everybody here tonight. I remember sitting with a few of my uncles, my brothers in sweat, and they said that they never gave up on me, or me and my brother, while we're out there. They always prayed for us, and that they're very happy to see us back in the circles that we have, and I think that's what it takes, guys, that daily prayer, that daily meditation, also all part of the process, to keep us sober. So once again, I want to say thank you guys for showing up. And without further ado, I want to introduce Miss Dr. Henrietta Mann. Oh.
For many of you, just call me Grandma. Yeah. For many of you, call me Auntie, like she does. Call me by my Cheyenne name, which translates into English as prayer cloth woman. It is Ho'oisto'ona. I am named for my paternal grandmother, whom I never knew, but I was given her name. And so I really have to carry it in a good way. And I have tried to bring honor to not just the name, but to the woman, the Cheyenne woman, whose name I carry. We never seem to put the same kind of emphasis on being Henrietta, Thalia, as we do for Ho'oisto'ona or Mahiona. Thalia's name translated into English means medicine woman, sacred medicine woman, Mahiona. Many of you probably have your own Cheyenne names, but I am told and have been taught by my elders that when we go back home to meet our relatives waiting for us, that we need to make sure that we introduce ourselves with our Cheyenne names. More than a name, it's an identity. It is, I believe, very unique for us to carry two names. An English version of it, but the Cheyenne name to me has so much more meaning because it certainly helps to keep me in line when I stop to think that I'm named for those prayer cloths that many of you have tied on branches of trees here in our home area or up in our sacred mountain at Bear Butte or other places. When I talk about our land, I mean everything here in western Oklahoma. When we first came here to live, our reservation, and we had one, was about 4.3 million acres. Millions and millions and millions and millions of acres of land was ours. And then in 1892, during the Oklahoma land run. Over 3 million acres of it was open to those neighbors that our grandparents certainly had in one day. They woke up one morning. By evening time, there were 225,000 new neighbors on what was our homeland. It will always be our home. Always, because, we come from the earth. We belong to the earth. We belong to this land. And we have our own way of viewing the world. For about 40 years, I lived away from here, but I always thought about all of you. I thought of my homeland. And during that time, I taught first at the University of California in Berkeley. That was where I started teaching at the college level. I've been blessed. I was blessed with a good mind, with a good heart, because we think with the heart as Cheyenne people. Tzitzis. We are a compassionate, loving people. We're heartline thinkers. And our hearts connect. One of my aunts, my dad's youngest sister, was named Mamie Lucille Mann. Da Evilzit in Cheyenne. Night walking woman. And she married a Caddo man and lived in Anadarko. I never got to see my father's baby sister, my aunt, all that much. But I can remember one day going to visit with her. And she said, "Where are you going this time?" It's generally someplace in our gigantic homeland, but that time I was going to Germany to speak at Eilif College there, the university in Germany. I wanted to go and see what that country was like, that our fathers and grandfathers fought against. Germans. I wanted to go to see that place. Not so much to speak, but to visit, to see where some of our relatives shed blood and got their Purple Hearts or their medals. And so I spoke at that university. I really wanted to be a teacher when I was maybe your age and younger. They'd say, "What are you going to be, Henrietta?" And I'm named for my father, who was Henry Mann. And when he went overseas, he was Mahilnivitkus. That's his Cheyenne name. Medicine bird. Holy bird. Mahilnivitkus. And he went and he fought in France and in that part of the world and was wounded and got a Purple Heart. And he came home. And just as our ways are, as a community and as a family, we welcomed him home and we had a dance for him just down the road at Dog Patch. Used to be wonderful powwows there, wonderful gatherings. And I can remember seeing my dad on this horse in his army uniform, but wearing a pair of beaded moccasins. And behind him, he was pulling 4 horses that were on a rope. My mother had made a teepee and beaded the ornaments on it that only special Cheyenne women can bead. We were lucky to have him back. He carried that wound in his leg for the rest of his life. But his name was changed, which is our custom as Cheyenne people. When our warriors go off to battle and they're wounded or just come home, we celebrate them. We honor them. And at this time, my dad was one of those who had a name change from Holy Bird to Mo'enahamimil. Horse Roads. He was named for his aunt's father, who was a very brave warrior, she told him, and she wanted him to have that name of her father. I grew up as a Cheyenne in a different time. I grew up speaking our language. And I loved education so much because I thought this is the way that I'm going to help my little brothers and sisters and my relatives. And of all things, when I went to college at Weatherford at Southwestern, I couldn't afford to go to those fancy places like the University of Oklahoma or Oklahoma State University. I went to Southwestern State College, a teacher's college, because I wanted to be a teacher. And I majored in English because I wanted to know how to speak these people that surrounded us, those 225,000 new neighbors that our grandparents suddenly had in one day in 1892 when they swarmed into our homeland. And my grandparents and family wanted me to go to college too. It wasn't easy for me in terms of the money that it took. It wasn't easy at all. But remember, all of us sitting here, we're Cheyenne. We can do anything. Know that. Look what some of you have done in terms of following your well-variety traditions. That takes a lot of mind power, willpower, thinking with the heart, and keeping of Cheyennes honorable, respectful, and free from those things that affect our minds and make us act differently. I can understand. When my dad came home and he had his name changed in that old time Cheyenne ceremony, he could not make the transition from being a soldier and having been wounded. And life life is such as it is, and we have a great deal of respect for life. And my dad told me one day they were marching across this minefield. And they had to step in the footstep of the soldier in front of him. Had to step in those footsteps because they knew that no mines were there or they would have exploded. So they were stepping in those footsteps, and my dad reached a point and he looked down. This is our respect for life that's showing through as Cheyenne people. He looked down and he said there was a human arm laying there that his buddies before him had just stepped on. My dad said, I shifted my rifle to make sure it was tight, and I reached down and I picked up that arm. And I walked to the side, he said, and everyone was saying, I don't know, I think every soldier must have been called chief. He said, my buddies were calling, Chief, Chief, don't do that, don't do that. They were afraid that he was going to step on a landmine. But he said, I couldn't let those soldiers behind me step on that arm. I didn't step on it. And I took it and I laid it down reverently. And I turned around and I followed my footsteps back, fell back into formation and walked on. That is who you are. Respectful, compassionate, honorable. And we just didn't make up those things. Our ancestors, your grandparents, my grandparents, their grandparents before them, on and on, way back to the beginning of time, passed down these ways to us. Good ways. But some take a lot of discipline. You can look at me. I guess I got the highest degree that I could possibly get in an Anglo university, a doctor of philosophy degree. But I am sure that it's nothing compared to how your walk back to sobriety has taken. You are all probably doctors in terms of returning to sobriety and wellness, just like our grandparents want us to be. You know, we've lived as Cheyenne people. Tsitstas. You can say Natsista. I am a Cheyenne. Natsista. A very unique language that only we speak and we're given to speak. Now, I'm very sad that probably sitting here, I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of Cheyenne first language speakers that are left today. I'm one of them. I don't know how long I'm going to be with you. I have been blessed with a good, long life. I have walked on this earth for 90 years. I'm 90 years old. I'll be 91 this year. I don't know how many more years or how much time I have with you. The only thing that I can tell you is what I heard from my grandparents about this long journey that we have been on since the beginning of time. And we have our own story of our beginnings as a people. How Mount Hill, the great one, Mount Hill, made our world and put everything in this world in its proper place. From water to light, the sky, air, and all of our relations, not us two-legged upright walkers, but those that crawl, those that swim in the water, those that fly in the air, those that walk on four legs. We're related to everything. Everything in this beautiful, wonderful place that we call Earth, we are related to. We are related one to another. We are related to every other person that lives in this world with us, to every other animal, creature, bird, fish, everything, everything. Because we're made up of the same four basic elements. We're made of water. In fact, we're more water than we are anything else. Maybe 80% water, maybe even more. Water. And as Cheyennes, we look upon this water as life. And it is sacred. Especially those that make their sacrifices for us and go to dance in our dance of new life. And they go into that Sundance Lodge. They dance to renew this world. They renew us. And the first thing that they do after making their sacrifices is to drink the water of life. And we all stand behind them and wait to drink the water from their buckets. Holy water. That's going to make us well. It's medicine. Your water, a lot more of your physiological body is water. You're also earth. The dust, this ground, this earth. We're made from earth as human beings. And this earth we know as grandmother. Nishke Eman. our grandmother. She holds this earth up for us and has done so since the beginning of time. She gives us a place to live and to walk, but to walk in a sacred manner. She's done that for all time. This grandmother of ours. And it's almost as if when Mahil, the great one, gave us life, that Mahil took us and planted us in this earth. We have spiritual roots. You can't see them, but they're there. We're rooted in the body, the bosom of our grandmother, Earth. We're her children and her grandchildren. And she loves us. But we have the responsibility of taking care of her. Mahil, once he had made his creation, gave us the responsibility of taking care of things in our environment. Not just the water, not just the earth. You got air too. You carry it in your body. The same air that I guess this is here. It's invisible. We can't touch it. But we're alive because of that air, that some of which we carry in our lungs and here. And without that, we would not have speech. We're related to this air. And then there's fire. Fire. And you know that you got heat somewhere in those little atoms that make up our bodies, a lot of them. Otherwise, if we took our temperature, then most of us would have a temperature of about 98.6 degrees. Warm. There's a fire within each of us. Those are sacred substances from which we are made, which gives us the reason to keep our bodies clean, pure, and well. We have a responsibility to take care of this grandmother of ours, the water from which we are made, the air that we breathe, and the sun that gives us warmth. But we're not hearing that so much today because I never ever wanted to see this day when I had to say climate change is here. You know, when we came to this land and when we acquired all of those 225,000 neighbors that our grandparents had in one day, things changed. And we knew that they were going to change because as we walk through life as Cheyenne people, just us, we've been on walking this road of life forever. And I don't know how much longer you're going to be here. Your children are going to be here. Your grandchildren are going to be here. Your great grandchildren are going to be here. Your great great grandchildren. And we have a responsibility to all of them to teach them our ways as Cheyenne people. Love. We are a loving people. You are a loving people. You come from that background. Nimameheptaksim. I love all of you. Nimeheptaksim. We also have a respect for life that our grandparents told us that we had to have. We have to respect our bodies and keep them clean and pure. The things that some of you who have been on this difficult road are doing now, having a respect for yourself, respect for your parents, your grandparents, your children, your grandchildren, but having a respect for life. I am blessed because I got to know my grandfather, know my grandparents, his sisters, his brothers, who taught me these things. And some of you probably have been taught the same things. But maybe some of you have not. But it's not your fault. It has been the kinds of institutions that we might call, just as one example, public schools, boarding schools, on reservation boarding schools, off reservation boarding schools. And those students that went there never knew a mother or a father in the 3-year time periods that they were gone. When they decided that they were going to these off-reservation boarding schools, the first of them, Carlisle Indian Industrial Training School in the state of Pennsylvania, they were gone for 3 years. They never got to come home. Cheyenne-ness was taken from them. Their language, their ways, their belief systems. Can you imagine getting to some strange place and having your hair cut and your beautiful buckskin outfits and dresses thrown out and away? Your beautiful moccasins, your language, your belief systems, the good ways that we have always been taught to live and to be the good people that we are. All of that is embedded in being Cheyenne. We have strong value systems that have helped us to survive all that we have survived. We're strong people, or we would not have survived it. You're Cheyenne. You are who you are in heart and in mind and even in physical makeup. But in the way you think, the way you are. Love. Love for all people, the earth, the sky, the waters, the sunlight. Respect for all of that. To have compassion. Just like my father had to have when he risked sitting off a mine because he did not want to have his buddies, as he called them, walk on a human arm. Respect, compassion, generosity. I would say probably in that very act, he took the risk of stepping on a mine and being killed because he didn't want anyone stepping on what was obviously left of a human being. Understanding. My father's mother died when he was a little baby of either 7 or 9 months of age. So his grandmother said, I'm going to rear him. And he had an older sister, Thalia's grandmother, Miriam Mann, twins. She said, I'm going to take it and rear these children. And she had been, like some of your ancestors have been, she'd been at Sand Creek. She had been at the Washita River by Cheyenne. But she says, and she was older then, I'm going to take and I'm going to rear my grandchildren. Other people wanted them. But she said, no, they're my grandchildren. I'm going to raise them. I'm going to raise them as my own. Knowing my father, he was brave enough and won a Purple Heart in the war, but he was the kindest, loving, most loving person, man that I know. Loving yourself or loving someone doesn't make you weak. Quite the opposite. Makes you stronger. You give me strength. I thank you for sharing your life with me tonight. For being another good Cheyenne person that says, I have to take care of this body of mine. I have to take care of this mind of mine. I have to take care of this heart. I have to take care of that blood that flows through those veins. My veins, I have to follow those well-rioted traditions for those of you in the room that are doing that. I am so proud of you, and I love you for doing that. And I wish you continued health in walking that road. You're not alone. I told you to call me Grandma. whether you're related to me as Mac is, as Thalia is, but you're still my grandchildren. We carry that Cheyenne blood. One of the things that, another thing that is very important is to be very humble people. Yeah, I got a good education, but I got that education so I could come back and teach you all how to speak that foreign language of ours. That was why I went to college and I majored in English. And I went on to another college, someplace at Stillwater. I'm a cowgirl. I'm not from OU. So don't hold that against me. I'm an Aggie. That's where I got my master's degree. And it was very, I think, important in many ways to say, to show those people out in that world that had a tendency, and sometimes still do, to look at us as nothing but dumb Indians, dirty Indians, drunken Indians, nothing better than animals, where none of us is supposed to have the mind power to be anything but less than. We come from this land. Our ways are strong. And it's not your fault if you hadn't learned them before tonight or along later in life. Because those schools that your grandparents and parents went to cut them off, threw them out. They're no good. You have to pray in this way, in this language. You have to worship that holy being. They took our lives away from us. And for me, it was taking it back. Okay, I can speak the same language you can. I can teach your children how to speak their own language. I can become a doctor like some of you, so that I can show my little brothers and my sisters and my children and my grandchildren that we have the mind to be anything that we want to be. Beginning with being sober and staying sober and being those good people that your grandparents dreamed that you would be. Think about the fact that it was our grandparents that dreamed us into existence. They prepared us the best way that they knew how, with our ceremonies, to keep us strong, to keep us grounded, to be good-hearted Cheyenne people. You don't have to go through ceremonies, but you should just want to be there. You should just be there. There was a time that every Cheyenne was to attend our two ceremonies, the male ceremony and the Sundance. And if they did not show up in camp, then the Warrior Society members would go out and look for them and whip them in. That's how important our ceremonies as a people are. You don't have to go in. You just have to be there. And then when those dancers get through, I always just look forward to that. I want to be there to drink from someone's water bucket to get those blessings. But let me share a little secret with you, just to let you know how powerful the mind is. And your minds are just as powerful as mine. There was a young lady that approached me and wanted me to take her through the Sundance. I think I was already about 87 years old. And so I said, okay, just make a long story short. So I took her through. At 88 years of age, I sat in that Sundance Lodge and went without food and water. At 88 years of age, I'm 90, remember? See how powerful the mind and one's commitment to our ways and being Cheyenne is. So she went through, and she got through. And so did I. I knew I could do it. The mind is very powerful. Your minds are very powerful. You set your mind to something, you're going to get it. You set your mind to, for me to get a doctor's degree, I got it. You set your mind to be sober for the rest of your life, you can do it. Because you've got our Cheyenne ways that you can always look to. And so you have to have that very strong prayer life. Whether it's just a serenity prayer, that's good. Repeat it time and time again. Develop your strong prayer lives. Keep your mind strong, your body strong. Keep your health good. That is what is being Cheyenne. That's what it means to be Cheyenne. So I am just another Cheyenne. And I love all of you. And I wish you continued success in walking this road of wellness and goodness and wholeness. You deserve it. We all deserve to be happy people, to be good people, to be respectful people, to be kind people, to be generous people. Sometimes I feel like all I can give you are my words, which is what my late grandfather, what Miss Spotted Horse Fred Mann told my dad when it was time for him to go back to that blissful place above. He says, I have nothing to give you, son, except my words. And then when my dad knew that his time was getting close, he said, sister, which is a term apparently that they used in boarding schools for all the younger girls, sister, I have nothing to give you. I'm a poor man, but I give you my words. And so tonight, I don't know how much time I have with you, but I want you to know that tonight I have given you my words as a Cheyenne grandmother and as my grandchildren. I love you. I wish you well. I want you to walk on that good road. Take care of your bodies, your minds, and your spirits. And I want to thank you for asking me to speak to your group tonight. Thank you for honoring me.
As a token of our appreciation, Miss Mann, we want to gift you with this shawl.
You got Oklahoma State color.
Blame Barry. Barry's the one that chose colors.